Please rise for silent invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk call the roll?
Councilmember Ford.
Present.
Councilmember Tremont.
Here.
Councilmember Stiltner.
Here.
Vice Mayor Bastian.
Here.
Mayor Burnett.
Here. All are present. We have a quorum. Discussion items tonight. Discussion of tentative millage rate and budget for fiscal year 21. Jake, do you want to set us up for the discussion?
Yes, sir. Mayor, Council, citizens of Port Orange. Before you tonight is the staff proposal for the FY21 fiscal year 21 budget. This budget is based on Council's guidance and previous votes of approval of the operating and capital improvement program, as well as the budget for the 2 CRAs. The overall general budget revenues increased this year by a net of $2,533,286. This increase is based on an increase in taxes of $1,500,000, charges of services of $220,000, and an application of fund balance at $2.04 million. The increases are offset by a decrease in revenue from intergovernmental revenues of $1 million, as well as slight decreases in permits and fees, as well as miscellaneous revenue and fines of $143,000. The largest decrease in intergovernmental revenues were $577,000 in the half-cent sales tax and $396,000 in revenue sharing. This indicates that our citizens are bearing more of the cost of services due to the decrease in intergovernmental revenues, most certainly an effect of the pandemic this year. Total overall revenue was $43,180,416, of which $16,485,000 was brought in from is expected to be brought in from ad valorem or property taxes. Our expenses overall for fiscal year 21 are $121,999,168, of which $43,180,416 is general fund. As mentioned previously, the general fund is funded by many revenue sources, including the ad valorem property taxes. Our overall expenses indicate a $2,533,286 increase in general fund expense from last year. That increase is primarily due to a $631,000 personnel cost, which includes funding for pre-approved contracts and the possibility of funding contracts not yet settled. Operating of $278,860, which accounts for increases in contract fees, cost of operating increase, fuel, and expendables. And the transfer to other funds of approximately $1.7 million. I will mention for the public that in the current budget, the police and fire department are fully funded for all authorized positions. Requested police and fire initiatives have been funded, which includes such items as Axon body cameras, Axon tasers, gear extractors, and other fire equipment needs. We have included all changes you have voted affirmatively on in the past, have not added anything to the base budget. Staff has also found some additional savings and adjusted some revenue estimates that have resulted in a millage rate of 4.6622 per thousand, which is 9.9% over rollback and 3.02% over last year's budget. Total millage, which includes debt millage, of .2519 is 4.9141 mils per thousand for a combined increase of .1162 mils or 2.42% over last year for the debt millage. That's all I have this evening in the opening comments, Mayor and Council.
Thanks, Jake, because I was supposed to read before you did that, the fiscal year 2021 budget commences as of October 1st, 2020 and continues through September 30th of 2021. The public hearing is now convened to discuss the millage rate and budget. We will begin with the City of Port Orange City Council discussion on the tentative millage rate necessary to fund the fiscal year 2021 tentative budget for the City of Port Orange, the Community Redevelopment Agency of Port Orange for Port Orange Town Center, and the Community Redevelopment Agency for Eastport Business Center. The tentative millage rate to be levied is 4.6622 mils per $1,000 evaluation, representing a 9.9% increase in ad valorem tax revenues above the rollback rate. Wow. The rollback rate is 4.2424 mils per 1,000 evaluation. Jake, this is where I was supposed to ask you for your comments, but I jumped the gun, so I appreciate that. At this point, I'm supposed to ask council for discussion regarding the reasons for the increase in the final millage rate and above the rollback rate and any other budget priorities and the like. Why don't we, Marilyn, you want to start? You have anything you want to question or comment on?
Yeah. I'm not in favor of this rate. I would like to go back to what the current rate is this year, which is 4.5254, which still represents about a 6% increase over rollback. And I would plead with my fellow council people to consider the fact that by keeping the rate the same as this year, we're honoring, to some extent, increased costs for wages for employees as well as the cost of goods and services. But we're not unduly hampering many of our residents who are on fixed incomes, who have lost jobs, who have seen a decrease in wages due to COVID and who are having difficulty to make their payments. And the way I would get there is the budget as presented assumes full funding of all positions. And yet we know that in each department there are always positions that go unfilled, not for any lack of trying, but because people come and go, so there's turnover. In addition, the time that it takes to hire somebody, to get them through the physical, the background process, it's not realistic that 100% of the workforce, every position is going to be filled. So I'm suggesting that, for example, in the police department, they're not going to be able to put 15 people on to fill all those vacancies immediately October 1st. We know what it takes to recruit and hire. We know that it's very difficult for police right now. It's not attracting a lot of people, and we've got the issue of the academy. If we were to leave 7 of those positions, assume a vacancy rate of that, those salary figures would probably bring us to the current millage rate that we have for this fiscal year of 4.5254. And so I see that as a reasonable way to balance competing demands of what we need to do for our employees as well as what we need to do to control costs.
Chase? Come back to you?
You want me to go now? I'm going to read a lot.
Okay, well, you're going to read. What?
Yeah. No,
You want to go?
He can go.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, we'll do our thing.
I wasn't planning to give comments this evening, as I previously made my position pretty clear. But given that we have a number of new folks here, particularly last time our fire and rescue were not here, I felt I owe it to you to offer my position, and I'm going to just offer my same comments that I made prior. And I genuinely appreciate everyone being here. I don't think there's a person in this room that doesn't support our first responders.
by any stretch of the imagination. We just may have different agreements on certain policy issues. And I consider myself friends with a number of you guys, a number of you I've grown up with. And this is my home, since 1984. And I raised my 4 children here. And my 75-year-old plus mother is here as well. So I care about public safety. I genuinely do. I also care about the challenges that people are experiencing today, the real challenges, the real hardships people are facing. And there's no way to balance that, in my opinion. So if you'll indulge me, I am and always have been an advocate for higher wages for all our staff. I'm on the record from this chair saying such. Again, my personal instructions to staff this year was to find a way to give a raise without raising taxes, but I do recognize the enormous challenges with that. And I am willing and wanting to give raises to our first responders. I want to do that every year, but I am not willing to raise taxes this year to do it. I can appreciate the many folks that have been here throughout the number of weeks asking for taxes to be raised, but just as many as come before us, I also speak to a number of the same folks, same number of folks that are asking, in many cases begging, to not have their taxes raised. No one is stopping anybody, excuse me. Frankly, I've always been of the belief that if you want to pay more taxes, that no one is stopping anybody from writing an extra check and sending it to the city. But I will not support forcibly taking more money from people's pockets who have just lost their jobs, in many cases their entire careers and livelihoods, their businesses closed and never reopen again. Businesses who have closed and are scratching and clawing to reopen, and families who have taken massive pay cuts, which, by the way, inhibits their ability to provide a certain standard of living that they're accustomed to providing for their families. I do not believe that during our country's greatest economic crisis in 90 years since the Great Depression, the worst in our lifetime, that it would be appropriate to take even a single penny more from people who have already been devastated by this. That is not to say that you don't deserve it, because you absolutely do. I am not unwilling to give you more pay for the work that you do, but I am unwilling to take more of it from someone else who has already lost so much. I'm reminded again of some comments made before about 20 to 30 to 40 bucks not being a lot, indicating that, well, it's just a few lunches. I've seen that said a number of times. And while that may be so, but for some people, I'll also remind you, as I've stated before, that $40 is also baby formula. It's a portion of a water bill. It's a portion of an electric bill. It's diapers, it's wipes, and so on. So let's not reduce the value of $1 by just equating it to purchases of pleasure and ignoring the purchases of necessity. And not to mention what this will mean to local businesses as well. Some of our businesses have closed. They've struggled to remain open or painfully closed and barely reopened in an effort to provide a service for our community, jobs for our residents. And now we're going to hit these people up with hundreds and in some cases thousands of dollars more in tax increases. I cannot justify that. To suggest that some council members may hide behind COVID or to downplay the severity of the economic crisis as though it's being used as some sort of an excuse is frankly an insult to those who are currently devastated and experiencing real pain, and is devoid of any knowledge of American history. There is no real end in sight at this point. The only thing we have going for us right now is that the housing market is strong and our homes have not lost their values, which determine our tax revenues as a city. And God help us if the housing market were to falter. With deferments coming due on mortgages, who knows what can transpire in the coming months. And I'll close my comments by reminding our residents and all of you here tonight that in spite of my position on taxes tonight, I do support our first responders. I've stood on the street corners in support. I've lobbied for you at the bargaining tables, and I support you without equivocation. And I will acknowledge publicly that our first responders are woefully underpaid, and I do believe that we must, and I'm committed to addressing that issue. I am not unwilling to give raises. I am unwilling to take more from people that have already lost so much. And at a time like this, when so many of my friends, families, and neighbors have lost their jobs and don't know where their next paycheck is coming from, I cannot look them in the eye and justify a higher tax bill for them. I will not do that. And again, that may not be what you want to hear from me, and I understand that. But at the very least, it's my honest response, and you deserve to know where my position is, and you have the right to hear it from my mouth. And it's anything but easy for me to sit up here and look you in the eye and say no. The one thing is that you'll never have to guess where I stand on an issue. I'll never tell you one thing and do another. My prayer is that you continue to be safe out there. I know these are the most difficult times to be in the position that you are in. And from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate your service, and I implore you to stay safe out there. Thanks, Mayor.
Drew, comments, questions?
Yeah, following that's going to be a tough one. That Chase is always so eloquent how he speaks. But going back, when we started this, I proposed the max millage, and we agreed to 4.6989. We're fairly close to that. When I proposed that, it was with the intent to do what we needed to do, and I felt that that number would allow us to honor all our obligations. Come up with a wage proposal for this, and continue to operate the city with no reduction in staff, no layoffs, no furloughs, no pay cuts, none of that. So everybody knew where I stand when I set the 46989, and I think we need to be fairly close to that, which we are, to get accomplished what we need to get done. So those are my thoughts on this. I'd like to hear from the public, and Councilman Stiltner still has some comments, and the mayor, but want to hear from the public and see where we can go to get where we need to be. It's never easy to increase taxes on somebody and take that, but the bottom line, we still have to be able to function and provide services and a service level that people have come to, grown accustomed, and they expect it, and nobody wants to see any reductions. So those are my thoughts right now.
Scott?
Yeah, I think I share a lot of those same comments in terms of the quality of life and service level reductions. And one of my fears several months ago was that we would be having these discussions about layoffs and reductions, and I'm glad that we're not having those discussions. I appreciate Chase and Marilyn's comments, and Marilyn, I will say that your recommendation, your suggestion is something I've been thinking a lot on, because I do think that we could get there this year by doing that. My concern is kicking that can and having that compounding, because these are not one-time costs. Basically, the cost for operational costs for employees and wages and such are just going to compound, and so I'm wrestling with that, and I'm just not inclined to kick that can, knowing that can's going to be much, much bigger next year, which we're still going to have work to do next year, and we still don't know what, like Chase indicated, we don't know where the end is on this. So I'm very hesitant on that. As far as like trying to come up with competitive raises and wages without a tax increase, the only way that I can see that something like that could be done would be terminating and eliminating positions elsewhere within the city, and that's just not something I'm willing to do. I'm not in favor of laying anybody off. I'm not in favor of massive significant cuts to services. There's already certain services that we're not able to do because we're trying to practice some CDC guidelines and things like that, so there's already some loss to the quality of life in the city. But I'm kind of looking at this as, I guess, a little bit of a pay-as-we-go kind of a deal. I'd rather bite the bullet and our residents deal with an increase this year, so that we can maintain competitive wages and get those adjustments taken care of, and move that into next year and continue the work next year. It's not an easy task for sure, but I think it's a task we need to undertake.
And this is a process that doesn't end tonight, and doesn't even end once we come to the end of an agreement with it at the negotiating table, because we're going to start up again in a few months. So this is a continuing process, and we need to keep the big picture in mind. And I admit, when COVID first started, and when I saw the devastation to all our city revenues because of our portion of sales tax, a lot of people don't understand that property taxes only account for about 1/3 of our general fund revenue. The other 2/3 of it comes from other sources, and when it's devastated, that leaves property taxes as a way to make it up. And I was absolutely petrified. I'm like, how could we do anything but stay at rollback. Fortunately, through clarity and time, we've seen that as bad as it is, it wasn't as bad as it could have been, because as bad as April was, April ended. And, we turned the calendar to May. Nothing happened in the state of Florida in April. It's a huge month for tourism and the like. Nothing was manufactured. We were at a complete standstill. And we are not there now. And we are not back yet. We're not even close to being back yet. But at the same time, the quality of life in the city, in the residents of Port Orange, if you're having trouble making your tax bill now, what I do to it by a few dollars isn't going to make it any easier or any harder. It's always going to be difficult if you're on that cusp right now. But I think what's worse is not having a public safety when you need it. I kind of think of our core services, police and fire, water, trash pickup. Those are the things nobody should ever have to think about in their daily life until they need it. Nobody thinks about water until it's not there. They turn on the faucet, it's there. When they call 911, they expect public safety to be there, and they are. So what I'm asking is that we come to some sort of compromise. I've come off that, hey, we need to be at zero this year, knowing that we got to do something next year, because I know that we need to staff these departments for our citizens. This is not easy for me, because I am a fiscal conservative and I am very respectful of the people that Chase is talking about. And I know, and I kind of feel that maybe I am caught in the middle of the worlds, but I know that what we do is counted on too much, that we cannot afford to slide backwards from this position, and I'm afraid what will happen if we don't fill positions in the departments the way they are. So I'm going to ask that let's all work together, knowing full well that we're not going to be able to give everything we want to give. You're not going to be able to get everything that you want to get. We're going to do something that makes sense, and we're going to do something. We're going to do something that makes sense right now, knowing full well we're going to be back at the table with everybody in 6 months. So we're not done. It's a step. Work with us. We'll work with you. All 5 of us appreciate the job that public safety does in this city. It is top notch. We cannot slide from that. I also know that cities that have average public safety see home values deteriorate. They see quality of life deteriorate. We invest in our core district right now. A lot of people have asked me, why are we redoing our medians? That's a great question. The timing is a little suspect, but that's something we've been working on for a while. But it's not just about being able to drive down Dunlawton and have it look nice for the people who live here. Certainly that's an aspect of it. But the businesses in that corridor pay the lion's share of our taxes. We need to invest in them so that they survive and thrive, and they have the ability to continue to maintain the values on their property so that they can do that. We have a pretty good balance in our community. Other cities really struggled in 10 years ago when we had the economic downturn. Deltona, I'm not picking on them, but they struggled mightily just because they were so intense on residential and they didn't have the business tax base, and they're trying to improve on that. And they've had some wins. They've got the Amazon, they've got the hospital district there. All those things, they're trying to balance their community, and I think we've got a pretty good balance right now. It's not perfect. It's far from perfect, but it's something we'll continue to work on. You've got to have that right balance of business and residents, because if you don't have those businesses there to give the services the residents need, then you hear from people that. But those businesses do pay the lion's share of the taxes, and I think we need to kind of remember that as well. And I think it's okay to go into Shop Owner X and thank them, because whatever we do here today, most homeowners with a homestead exemption are capped and they're protected from the larger portion of the increase. I think that's important to note when we remember that. But our investors in this community are not, so we need to be especially grateful to them as well. Those are my comments. At this point in time, I'm going to hear public comments. Anybody that wants to speak will have the opportunity. I'm going to call the people who signed up to speak first. And you get 3 minutes. When you come up, introduce yourself. If you work for a public safety department, just say who you work for. I don't expect you to tell us where you live for obvious reasons. But if you don't, you should say your name and your address when you come up when I call you. And I see, and I really should have worn my glasses today. Mary Sayufi, is that right?
Yeah.
Did I say it right?
Yeah.
All right.
You actually did. Do I come right here?
Yep, right there.
Can I take this off?
You may. You're by yourself, so yes.
Okay. Okay, my name is Mary Sayufi. I own Thunder Roads Florida Magazine. I'm a taxpayer. And on your comment of $30 extra money on my tax, it's not formula. It's not part of your water bill. It could be that person's life. I want to thank you for allowing my voice to be heard. I am not a fireman. I am not a policeman. I am simply a taxpayer. And don't be offended by my Trump mask, because whether you are a Republican or a Democrat, we all want public safety. I think that is the main thing you all provide sitting up there. I'm nervous. I became involved with a group called Adopt a Cop, simply because my nephew is a fireman in Louisville, Kentucky, where they're threatening to burn down Louisville. And my other nephew is a SWAT officer there and knows very well the Breonna Taylor massacre, if you want to call it that, and the melee and riots that have ensued since then. We're lucky. We live here safely right now. But it could happen to us tomorrow. Don't be fooled. And the people that are sitting behind needing $2 an hour or more need it. We need them to have it. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. We won't be safe if they can't fill firemen's job roles, or a policeman can't make his formulas payment. I just cannot even imagine the pay they're getting. And I put that on Facebook when I said I was coming here today, and I have all kinds of comments. Nobody knew it. Nobody couldn't believe it. I'm in shock by that, and that's why I'm here. I have 1,000 things I could be doing today other than being here. But the main thing I want to say is when I was outside with all these wonderful people that took their evening too to come and talk to you, I was shocked by how young they were, and all the little children out there, and they're trying to just make ends meet, and they're our protectors and our heroes. And 9/11 is in 2 days. None of these people were alive then, but every day they put on uniforms to protect us. You got to find the money to make sure that they're taken care of. That's all I have to say. Thank you. Fund the police, please.
Thank you, Mary.
Jose Aquino? Jose Aquino?
Good evening. I just want to share a short message I have here. So, good evening to everyone. My name is Jose Aquino, and I'm currently a 6-year firefighter and promoted driver engineer here at Port Orange Fire Rescue. I would like to briefly speak on behalf of my recent few years here at the department and share an experience I had where I almost left the department but chose not to on hopes for fair progress to be made. About 3 years ago, I had been offered a career opportunity at the Orlando Fire Department, which I always stated was my dream department since I got into the fire service. At the time I was offered the position, I had already been working here 3 years, and I honestly fell in love with this fire department. I truly enjoyed and still enjoy working in the city, serving its citizens along with Class A men and women who are firefighters here. Initially, going through the process with Orlando, I thought I'd leave for sure. When I was offered the position at the time, my mother was dealing with some ongoing health issues and things had begun to trend in a better direction here. For example, Chief Fuston was hired and positive changes were certainly being made. The department structure became organized. We began transporting our own patients to the hospital via our rescue unit. Training became consistent and developmental to our personnel as a whole and individually via a variety of fire classes that were being offered through the department. Apparatus upgrades were made, and along with all these improvements, many promises that the pay and benefits would be better addressed and made better for everyone working here. Although I knew I would never make the money or have the benefits here as I would in a city the size of Orlando, I did truly believe that things would become much better in regard to pay and benefits simply becoming fair. I ended up deciding to turn down Orlando, which many have called me crazy for, and actually stay here, placing my hopes on that we would be treated fairly and Port Orange would return to the coveted department all the senior guys and gals speak about it being years ago. Well, unfortunately, now 3 years later, here we are still dealing with these issues on pay, pension, and benefits. The truth is, surrounding departments having better pay, better benefits, better pensions, and have already obtained the increases in fairness I constantly heard and was assured that we would get here at POFR is unfortunate. It'll just take a few years, they said, but it'll happen. Things trend down, but they come back up again, I heard over and over. Well, it's been a few years, and unfortunately, it hasn't happened. My lieutenant told me last week we have never in my 20 years gone to the measures before to be compensated fairly. But if we don't, I don't know where many mid-career employees as yourself will be going to other neighboring fire departments soon. And about that, he is certainly correct. A few weeks ago, I spoke to a fellow firefighter from a neighboring department who told me, hey, come apply for our department where you'll be compensated fairly for your service. I went and did my research, and it saddened me to see that on their official job posting as a starting firefighter EMT fresh out of the fire academy would make $1,000 more base pay at that fire department than I made last year as a 6-year promoted driver engineer. In addition to that, I am cleared to ride up. I just
Finish
have,
your statement.
thank
Finish
you.
your sentence.
Yeah, you can finish.
Okay. I have a couple more paragraphs. Can I finish? I'm almost done. Like a minute and a half, please.
No.
No? All right.
Well, I tell you what, council, you want to give them more time? We got a lot more people to hear from.
No.
Let him finish.
It's up to them.
I want to hear it. Yeah, I'd like to hear
Go ahead,
it.
Jose.
The guy gives his life, puts his life on the line, man. I'm sorry. That's how much you can't give him a minute.
Go ahead.
You got it, Jose.
All right.
Thank you.
I love this job. I love this job with everything
Thank
in
you.
me. Thank you. I love this job with
Thank
every.
you.
I'm done?
They said no.
No, I said go. I
You said
want to
go?
hear. I
You
want to
go?
hear
Okay.
him.
All right,
Yeah,
my
I wanted to
bad.
hear him.
Okay.
My bad. Go and no between the
Yeah,
plexiglass sound
okay.
very similar.
I got you.
My apologies.
No worries. I love this job with everything in me, but I also want to be compensated fairly in comparison to my fellow fires from cities close by. My golden night is not to threaten the city or anyone here or even demand more. It is simply to make you all aware that if fair changes are not made in our pay, benefits, and pension, the same decision I made 3 years ago will not be the decision I made this time. I have already begun to look at neighboring fire departments, and if changes aren't made, the former decision will not be the current one. Thank you.
Thank you. Ben Walker? Ben Walker?
Oh, there he is.
Good evening. My name is Ben Walker, and I'm a driver engineer for Port Orange Fire Rescue, a member of our TRT team, and the 2017 Firefighter of the Year. I was hired in 2012 during one of the darkest times in our department's history. During that year, there was massive budget cuts, turnover, and our pay and pension was slashed and turned into a 2-tier plan. I am part of the latter of the bifurcated plan. In 2006, when I moved to Daytona from South Florida, I enrolled in DSC, EMT, and Fire Academy. My first ride along was with Port Orange, and in just 6 years, Port Orange went from a powerhouse to being a shell of its old self. There was a training tower, there was a burn building, and 4 firefighters were on a truck. The burn building and training tower is now a retention pond, and it was never replaced. Trucks are staffed with 3 firefighters, and we're continually threatened to be dropped down to 2. Our staffing number is also the same in 2020 as it was in 2012. In this time since I started, the city's population has grown by almost 10,000, and the Dunlawton corridor has exploded. This continually puts us in a position to do more with less, which the citizens of Port Orange do not deserve, nor is it safe for them or us as firefighters. We are now at a 40% turnover rate and continue to lose some of our best to neighboring departments who offer fair pay, pension, and don't have a bifurcated plan. In addition to our high turnover rate, our department is unable to attract quality candidates, and the last job posting had 0 applicants. This is a direct cause of continually keeping our pension and benefits below the state minimums. Citizens deserve the best and most experienced firefighters responding to the emergency, whether it be a car accident, structure fire, or God forbid, your child in cardiac arrest. If things don't change, Port Orange will continue its decline. Good firefighters will continue to leave, lesser applicants will fill the void, and I truly will fear for the citizens of Port Orange, some of which are my family. Council, I ask you to value your public safety, value your employees, treat us as equals to each other, remove the bifurcated plan. We are one fire department. Help stop the bleeding and right the ship. Make us competitive, make us comparable, and keep your citizens safe. There's an old saying in firefighting, leave it better than you found it. Don't be the council that is remembered as overpaying for Riverwalk and underpaying their police and fire department. Leave Port Orange better and safer than you found it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Spencer Starns. Spencer?
Good evening. My name is Spencer Starns. I own a house in Port Orange with my wife. I've been a firefighter paramedic for the city of Port Orange for 3.5 years, and I was 2019 Firefighter of the Year. It has been stated in here many times that public safety is a priority for Port Orange. The current pension multiplier for Port Orange Fire Department employees hired after 2012 is 2.5%. In all cities surrounding Port Orange, the pension multiplier is 3%. This includes New Smyrna, Daytona, Edgewater, Ormond, Deltona, South Daytona, and Volusia County. A 3% multiplier is standard for all other fire departments in Volusia County except Port Orange. If I was a council member, it would concern me that 24 Port Orange Fire Rescue members out of 54 line personnel, that's almost half, are under 10 years on the job, which means they are not vested in the pension and will potentially be leaving Port Orange Fire Rescue for any of these surrounding departments directly because of Port Orange lack of benefits. So not only will you be down 33% of your police officers, you will likely be down a large portion of your firefighters as well. Not only will a large majority of Port Orange Fire employees potentially be leaving, Port Orange Fire will find it very hard to hire anyone directly because the benefits are far lower than all the surrounding cities. Just look at the last 3 hiring processes. One process, we had 0 applicants, and the other 2 processes, we had a lower amount of applicants than ever before. So low of numbers, in fact, in order to hire, we had to lower the requirement for employment. As a result, this leads Port Orange to hire bodies that do not meet the standards for public safety, let alone high-quality employees who make life or death decisions for themselves and citizens. Do you think citizens want the bottom of the barrel public safety? If you have a heart attack right now or your house is on fire, do you want the lowest caliber employee responding? Does it concern you that the fire department could potentially be understaffed, causing overtime and operational safety problems for the city of Port Orange? Furthermore, our transport unit generates $32,000 to $36,000 of revenue a month, which goes directly to a general fund. That's $408,000 that the fire department may or may not see. Aside from New Smyrna, we're the only surrounding city that offers an ALS transport unit for our citizens. The cost per year to give Port Orange Fire raises we're asking for at $1.50 an hour to the city is $244,000. The transport unit alone is making more than that in 1 year. That is what is needed to bring us to a competitive wages for fire department in Volusia County. This year, New Smyrna and Daytona unbifurcated their pension plans. Edgewater never had a bifurcated plan. Ormond is currently working on removing their bifurcated plan. The firefighters of Port Orange are not asking for anything outrageous. All we are asking for is to have the same pension benefits that all the surrounding departments of the city of Port Orange have. I have stayed at Port Orange Fire because of the people I work with. Port Orange Fire has some of the best people I've ever known. I also stay because I love this city and I live and work in this city. I believe you love this city too. I just have one more sentence. Your decision on our contract will have a direct impact on whether myself and a large portion of my coworkers stay working for the city of Port Orange. Thank you.
Thanks, Spencer. Chris Taylor. Chris Taylor.
Hello. Fortunately, a lot of what I'm going to say has been already said tonight. But good evening, council members. My name is Chris Taylor. I'm the vice president of the Port Orange Professional Fire Union and a 21-year employee here at the fire department. As you can imagine, I've been here through a lot of ups and downs. Unfortunately, this is one of the downs. While fire administration and equipment is top-notch, what isn't top-notch is the attractiveness to work here. In 2012, the city imposed crippling changes to the pay and benefits of the fire department. We are now reaping those results. We have a 40% turnover rate. We recently had a hiring process with 0 applicants. Our last process was only possible because the city lowered the standard requirements. And sometimes we wonder why someone would work here. They can go to a neighboring city that only has 1 fire station. They do not provide transport. and they can make over $1 an hour more in their first year than working here at Port Orange Fire Department. Once we get into their actual complete benefit package, the disparity gets even bigger, and it becomes apparent most employees will not stay here. We are not asking to be rich. We are asking for fair compensation for the vital services we provide. I'm not up here fighting for us. I'm fighting for you, and we are all fighting for the City of Port Orange Fire Department. A lot has been said tonight, so I'll leave you with one last thought. We hear from the council all the time. We support our first responders, but do you? Thank you.
And Justin Merrick. Mm-hmm. Come on up.
My name's Justin Merrick. I'm a former Port Orange police officer. I left in February. I left because I finally just had to take a higher paying position with the Florida Air National Guard. It's an hour and a half away. I work at the Jacksonville airport. I still live down here. I make the drive every day, and the wages, thankfully, cover the costs. The unfortunate part of that is, I know where you guys are coming from, Mr. Tremont. I'm conservative, fiscal conservative. The fact that I'm sitting here asking to raise taxes it's hard. It's hard to say that. It is. But this is something that, we can't put budgeting and politics on, slogans on signs and things. There's nuance to these types of things. I understand you guys have a horrible decision to make, but anytime you're in a business, you have to arrange budgets to adjust to things like COVID, to adjust to things like taxes going up, to adjust to your competitors coming in and offering a better product, and you have to figure out how to adjust to that and stay relevant. And unfortunately, Port Orange is in a position where you're right at the end of I-4. Jacksonville's only an hour and a half away, and Brevard County's not that far either. You're gonna have to stay competitive, or you're gonna continue to lose people. I know that it stinks to have to do it with raising taxpayers. I appreciate the mayor making the comment that, the homestead exemptions and things like that, do help out the people who are permanent residents here, who are living in the homes that they have, and they will be capped and they're protected from that. The investment properties here are going to take, the brunt of that, and I understand that. I was a renter when I was in Port Orange. It was tough, trust me. When I was making, the money that I was making as a Port Orange police officer, it was difficult. A lot of times I would weigh which late fee was less detrimental to my life, because you just have to pick and choose when you're trying to live in the city that you love. The people in this city love their police officers. I loved being a police officer, I really did. I went and talked to the union reps before I left and said, look, I don't want to leave and then see something come that would have made sense for me to stay, but the outlook wasn't good. I pray that I'm wrong. I pray that it does get very competitive, because to just bring forth wages that, maybe they make us the #1 in the county for a month or for 2 months, because I went through a previous budget negotiation where we did jump up pretty high. We were immediately surpassed by all of our neighboring departments. And you just can't recruit good officers. You have great officers in this department. You've seen on the news what happens when you have bad officers. Derek Chauvin, an officer puts his knee on the back of someone's neck for that long, that's uncalled for. There were 3 other officers there that could have told him to stop. Those officers were all within 1 year of their hire dates. You need experienced people who are professionals that can avoid that kind of stuff coming to Port Orange, because you don't want it. And the business owners and property owners here, they don't want it either. So please make it competitive to work here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Andre Fleming.
Evening, Mr. Mayor, council people. Thank you for having us tonight. First of all, I want to thank you guys for coming to the table and working with us so far. Tonight, behind me and in the lobby, represented by a contingent of people, not just friends and family of fire and police, but citizens. And their presence here speaks volumes as to what citizens want and what they need. When we first started this, I said that citizens would be shocked and probably disgusted at what we pay our first responders. And I can tell you, after speaking with them, that they were. The fact that in 5 years, a police officer only makes $1 raise is unacceptable. And I'm not laying this burden upon you guys. We understand that this is a problem that has gone on for several cycles. However, we had somebody plead with you guys not to raise taxes. Well, I will plead with you to do what's necessary for us to have a competitive police department and a competitive fire department. It is a travesty what has happened with COVID-19, absolutely. But I think the bigger travesty, the bigger problem would be if the citizens that moved here, that worked hard, that sacrificed to move here, no longer recognize the city that they know and love because it's not safe. Port Orange is Port Orange because it's a safe place to live. That's what makes us different. And that is not a cheap thing. We talk about millage rate, and we are the 4th lowest millage rate by a long shot in the county. So I could understand taxes being difficult to raise if we were breaking it over our people. However, we're not. The numbers don't say that we are. I'm a recruiter, like I said, and it's not just that we're down 15 positions out of 48 in patrol. It's that we're competing with other agencies on top of being down. And the agencies that we're competing against are Daytona Beach Police Department primarily and VCSO. I just got a text an hour ago. VCSO said that they are offering $7,000 signing bonuses to new officers to start at their agency, plus moving expenses. I said last time that the city needs to take aggressive measures to make sure that our salary is competitive. I stand by that. It is incumbent upon you as representatives to make the hard decision. As parents, sometimes you have to steer your children in a certain way. And what I would ask is that as representatives, if you know, I'm almost done, bear with me. If you know that our police...
How much time you need?
20 seconds.
You guys good with it?
I'm okay.
Go ahead.
If you know that our police department is understaffed, it is incumbent upon you as representatives to speak to your constituents and let them know of the current rate and take the necessary steps, even if that means the $30 extra a year. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Andrew.
That's from all that I had signed up. Who else would like to speak? Anyone?
Michael? Got a
Anyone
couple.
but Michael? Anybody who wants to speak, line up if you would with social distancing on each side so we can keep it moving, okay? Go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you for having me again. My name is Orlando Argulis. All first responders, again, thank you very much for being on. Great job, guys. I was here the last time. Reason that I'm here is now as I continue to keep hearing everything that's going on. I'm just a citizen. I'm just a resident. I'm a homeowner. I got car payments too. I got to pay my bills too, and so on and so on and so on. I can't speak for everybody in Port Orange. I understand truly your point. We don't. There's people that it's going to be difficult. But I'm speaking again as just a regular resident. I don't make a lot of money. But I've been in positions before in the past with 3 kids where me and my wife had to take additional jobs to make ends meet because things got tough. And here's what, especially after what the gentleman said just before me. Hey, we're in the United States of America. We are Americans. We fight. Where's the American spirit here? I mean, I understand where you guys are coming from, but don't look down on us like, well, what we're going to come up with those extra $30? We'll come up with it. Let me tell you why. Because they're worth it. My family's worth it. My neighbor is worth it. We need to have responders that can come out there and feel like, you know what? I'm being valued. I'm getting the pay that's necessary. I don't want them to get the second job. I'll take the second job. I'll take the second job. And here's the thing. I know there's people, I know that there's residents, I know that there's citizens that feel the same way. We don't want to have thousands of people out here. So what will it take? A handful of folks. I don't know how many folks you may know that are in a situation. It's just difficult. But there's plenty of other people out there that I guarantee you that will have their 6. We'll pick up the extra job. We'll pick up the extra burden so that these guys don't have to do it. So they can have a clear mind the next day when that call comes in, and they have a clear mind to be able to do their duty and do their job well without having to be stressed, without having to have worked already an extra 8 hours that they don't need to do. Let us do that. We're the citizens, we're the residents. We don't want to pile up thousands of people out here. And it could be done. Here's why we know that. Social media. Get on social media. Look at the response of the citizens and the residents of Port Orange. We're saying, okay, hit us with the tax rate. Whatever it takes. We're Americans. We fight. You know, we'll make it happen. We'll make it happen. We don't want them to have to work their butts off. Let's us do it. We're the residents. We can do this. Please, go for it. I guarantee you'll have the majority and the backup of the people. Maybe some will struggle. Let us do what we can for those that struggle. Give us a chance. Give us a chance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Merrick. I spoke last time, hoping, since I didn't write it on a card, I'll do this better. I just wanted to touch on what was said earlier about COVID and so many of the people in this city losing their jobs and all those things. And what happened with COVID is heartbreaking. It's horrible. But I don't think people realize, as being a police officer who has children, how hard it is to even have a second job with their schedule. I mean, they switch every 3 months. It's nights and days. You know, tell me a daycare in this city, let alone in general, that you can put your kids in overnight. You can't. And I worked at the hospital until we had our second one. And, you know, I was working 14 to 16 hour shifts. So, I mean, if you have a child who's not in just regular school, it's almost impossible. And then if you rely on the income, you know, a police income as the sole income for your family, living in Port Orange, where rent you can barely find for less than $1,500 a month, it's impossible, which it was for us, like I said earlier. I want people to realize, like, you know, you see all these kids out here, you see all these families and all these, you know, all the backing out there with young children and things like that. And, you know, a lot of the people who can't pay their bills, who can't pay their, you know, their water bill in Port Orange, who can't, you know, any of the things, pay their car bills, all that stuff, are police officers. And that was before COVID, because we dealt with it a handful of times where we didn't know how to pay our bills being a police officer in Port Orange when there wasn't any COVID, when there wasn't any things like that. So, you know, we need to figure something out. I understand the tax issue, but, you know, it's not. The one thing I could say when my husband became a Port Orange police officer was, well, at least it's Port Orange, because Port Orange is safe. At least he's not in Orlando. At least he's not in Holly Hill. At least he's, you know, because I could rest assured that he was in Port Orange and it's a safer city. But is it going to be like that anymore when you're understaffed, when our officers don't have the backup that they need? You know, I've been seeing things that are happening with, you know, fires and things like that recently in Port Orange, and not only the citizens but the fellow first responders need the backing of their departments and staffing to make sure that they're safe, not only just the citizens. So thank you for letting me talk.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Hi all. Thanks for having me. I talked 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was here at one of your meetings. I talk a lot of numbers because I do numbers. I have an office across the street from the police station. I actually have 2 or 3 businesses.
Just say your name for the record.
My name is Bill Burkett.
Thank you, Bill.
We have 2 or 3 businesses in Port Orange that my son does. My son actually went to the fire academy, passed the fire academy, was looking for a job, and I think it was at one of the times around 07, 08 when jobs were hard to find. At that point in time, he started looking for a job, and he found out he was only going to make like $9 an hour as a fireman, which was just kind of bust his bubble because we was originally from Ohio, where they make quite a bit of money as a fireman. So he decided not to do that, and what he did was he actually went out and bought this little pressure washer and decided he wanted to take one of our companies and do a DBA with it and be a pressure washer. He is a very big company now, so his little $200 pressure washer, though, at that time, by doing 2 or 3 driveways a day, was making him more money than what a fireman is making. I think that's a little sad. You look at what I told you in the beginning, I was just totally shocked at these wages. And when you look at the wages these guys are making, and then we talk about $30 for the average household, that's not $30 a month or That's $30 a year. $30 a year. If you put that in perspective, what is that? Less than $5 a week? Something like that? $5, $6, $7 a week that we're going to raise taxes on a house to try and get police officers and firemen in this area to have a decent wage. If that's really all that it takes, do you really feel that's that bad? And I've been to, I don't know, I see a lot of people here. I've been to three or four, 5 of these meetings. And I kind of got interested in it because I was shocked about the pay. But I hear you say that you have all these people that, don't want these taxes raised. It's going to kill them to get that $30, or if they have a bigger house. I don't see any of those people here asking you, don't raise my taxes. I don't want the firemen or policemen to have more money. I just don't see that. And I haven't seen one person, I don't think, say, you can't raise my taxes since I've been coming to these. So I don't know where these people are. Maybe it's the investors, maybe it's your friends, and I'm not questioning you. I'm just saying, if they were that concerned about it, are they more concerned about $30, or are they concerned about having a good fireman and police force? I don't really have a lot more to say. I just wanted to say it's kind of hard to defend the city that's doing all they're doing and all the new houses that are going in. And up until 5 o'clock yesterday, I was paying $7,800 a year in property taxes in Port Orange. I sold my house. So that's a good thing. But that's a lot of money to pay in property tax, and I don't see $30 hurting me. Thanks for your time.
Thanks. Thank you, Bill. Come on, Victor. Vic.
Mayor, Council, how you guys doing?
Good, Vic.
I'm Victor Ezier, 5801 Spruce Creek Woods. I know I spoke last time, and I just wanted to touch on a couple of things. Hearing you guys speak about the budgeting and referring to the people of Port Orange who may struggle with this $30, they're going to figure it out. The people that are trying to use that $30 for diapers and wipes also have other income, other funding coming in from the city or from the state or from wherever to help them get those the extra little bit that they may need. We also live in a city that's full of investors. A lot of the people here that pay rent, they never even see their landlords. We're a city full of investors that will never know that you even raised their taxes. And I personally, somebody who owns a house, owns a business that I pay a lot. I purchased my condo building where I'm at now, and I love this city. I love this city. But with the amount of people that are in this city and the police officers that are running the streets, there's no way that they could protect everybody. You're putting them in a position to where they have to think about what they're doing for a living and what choices they should make if they get that call. If, God forbid, riots start. They also have a family and they have kids. They need to be able to consciously make that decision to know that maybe one of their partners is going to be able to get there in time. But they have to be on the street to be able to get there in time. So I know a lot was said today, and I don't want to sit here and reiterate what everybody said, but I just wanted to reassure you that the people of Port Orange will be okay because we'll feel safe and we'll feel confident that our families will always be safe. Thank you.
Thanks, Vic.
Good evening. Gabriel Shula, firefighter, been here closing up 15th year now. Started here back in 2005. Been here. This was my first fire, my only fire job. Came here from doing federal government work. But coming here, I got into something that I love, and I really appreciate it. Something I had an affinity for. And starting out with my career, we were on a good rise. Started out going very well. Spent a lot of time with older firefighters, more seasoned firefighters, who were great critical thinkers. Understanding what it took to not just be on a truck and not just treat a patient, but how to interact with them like the rest of the community. We're losing those people now. Losing a lot of them. We've lost a lot of them due to retirement and whatever. I don't see that I don't see that condition really improving. A lot of it is because now we're being forced to hire kids younger and push them to be able to perform at a greater pace at a younger age. Let's be real. A lot of 18-year-old, 19-year-old children, teenagers, may not be that good of a critical thinker. So they need that more experienced person to guide them in the decisions that we're making and how we do our jobs. We shouldn't be forced to rely on that to be the force of the jobs that we do as police and firefighters. You know, we ought to be able to keep and retain some of those more seasoned people who've seen a little bit, who have a little bit more experience to be able to guide us in the right directions. Just like the officer said before, a lot of the things we see dealing with civil unrest, liability issues with a poor judgment with medication administration in our line of work, a lot of it comes from poor training and lack of experience. We're at a point right now, the critical point in our careers where we're losing that experience. We're losing those middle ground guys. They're ready to leave. We've had some leave already. More want to leave now. Just like the other officer said, you know, people are offering them, you know, tons of money to come and work for them to bring that experience to them. Where does Port Orange go with that? We've been, just like the mayor said, we've been kicking the bucket down the road since 2012. Where does it stop? Thank you for your time.
Thanks. Thank you. Mike, you just gonna let everybody go?
Good evening. My name is Tony Cowan. I'm a 20-year firefighter lieutenant with the city of Port Orange. I just wanted to talk about something kind of that hadn't really been talked about. But I was kind of late to the sign holding, and I apologize because I made a joke, which wasn't a joke. I left my third job. I got 3 jobs. Do I have to have 3 jobs to put food on? No. But I got 3 jobs, and I've had it. I've been in the fire service for almost 25 years, here in Port Orange for 20. But I've got 3 jobs because that's just what I got to do to make ends meet. I'd love to have more money, and we've talked about making more money now. I mean, I'm barely making, I ain't that much higher than what everybody's wanting the minimum wage to be. That's 25-year experience guy, but whatever. I want to talk a little bit about the pension. I mean, I've heard that we've been told, you know, we're in negotiations. I know this ain't a negotiation meeting, but we're not doing anything with the pensions. That's not going to cost you anything right now. And I mean, 80% of what we do is medical calls. I'm a paramedic. Most of these other firefighters here are paramedics because we want to serve our citizens the best we can. Yeah, we get paid a little bit extra for that. You know how much of that is pensionable? 0. Goose egg, nothing. We work overtime. You know how much of that is pensionable? Nothing. That don't seem right to me. I mean, we get paid a percentage of the hours that we work, and the job that we do, you would think the one job that we do the most of, we would get pensionable. So I just want to open everybody's eyes up to that, maybe look at it from a different point of view. You know, it hadn't been talked about. Everything else everybody said, great. I'll end with, yeah, I want $5 an hour or more. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Brandy Jean. My husband's a Port Orange police officer. I wanted to come up today and with many of these gentlemen in the back, I have dealt with them. They were the first on scene when my great-grandmother passed away. They were amazing to see how I was to process everything that was going on. So in order for us to have wonderful police departments, they need to make sure they want to stay like they are and be personable, come out with you, make sure they're protecting you, and you want to feel that way when you need them. You don't want to be scared of them. When I was in my car wreck, the first officer on scene doesn't know who I am, but his first response was to make sure I was okay and to get everybody else there for me. We don't want to lower our standards for any of our first responder jobs. We want to keep them up as high as they can be, so we know we get the best help, the best protection from all of them. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Dan.
Good evening.
15-year lieutenant, Port Orange Fire, Adam Bivens. Like a lot of people have said, a lot of things been talked about. The point I want to stress is lowering our standards to fill a position. That is a slap in the face to everybody here. Brothers, sisters, police, fire, it's a slap in the face. Lowering positions to make a hire, it's disgusting. It puts my life in jeopardy, puts my brothers and sisters' life in jeopardy. It puts your lives in jeopardy, the citizens in jeopardy. Pay is what it is, benefits what it is, pensions what it is. Better, an increase would be great, but what I'm most passionate about is going home tomorrow and lowering our standards to fill positions. It's horrendous, disgusting. Thank you.
Dwight?
Good evening. My name is Dwight Galt. I live at 3964 Sunset Cove Drive. Was not going to speak tonight, but these people have inspired me. I was thinking back years ago when I was a young man, we had to draft. We had a draft for the military. But we did away with the draft, and what did we do to be able to have a good military? We raised the pay way up. Today we have not only just a good military, we have an excellent military. And to be able to keep an excellent department, whether it's fire or police, you have got to be able to pay these guys a decent wage so that they can live. The wives, I used to always tell a lot of the wives when I worked at Charlotte Motor Speedway as a security officer there, and I'd see a military dude out here, I'd call him over to me and let him in the garage. But I always made a point in telling his wife, you are just as important as that man in the uniform. You have to run the household while he's out, overseas, what have you, and he's got to be able to depend and not worry about you or about the family because he knows that you're going to take care of that. And that's the way with the wives here. I'm thinking, gosh, these wives they've got humongous pressures put on them, wondering, is my husband going to come home tonight? Because how many little departments have we heard where a police officer got shot? It's not going to happen here. Well, it could happen here. But I have a warm feeling in my heart for these folks. Whether it's the boys in blue riding a red truck or the boys in a blue driving that white Explorer. I had to call 911 a couple weeks ago. My wife developed a nosebleed bad. I did not hit her, Mayor. I did not touch her.
That's good.
But her nose was bleeding to the extent of this. I mean, I was grabbing a roll of paper towels trying to get it stopped. After 15 to 20 minutes, we could not get it stopped. I had to call 911. Who did I hear coming down the road? That big old red rumbling truck. But now he got there at the same time as evac did, and they took over. But I knew when I heard that truck coming that help's coming. Help's coming. And that's, we've got to, I'm just telling you off of the cuff here. I didn't prepare no notes. But sitting back here listening to these folks, and you know where my heart is. My heart's with them. It always has been. It always has been since my father, when I was a little boy, said, you can always go to that man wearing that badge. Thank you.
Thanks, Dwight.
Thanks, Dwight. Hey, Dwight. Dwight, thanks for wearing the gold shirt. You see, this is September, right? You wore is that why you wore the gold shirt? Oh, you lucked out. Okay. This is Gold Ribbon Month.
Okay.
I was going to thank you for doing something good that you did completely by accident.
Good evening.
Mike Giller.
Mayor.
Took me 3 meetings to get it right.
You got it. You got it. City Council. Thanks for hearing from me tonight. First thing, I wasn't going to talk again, but here I am. So the first thing I want to talk about is Councilmember Tremont. I hear you talk about, meeting after meeting, hardships that these families that are facing. What about our hardships? What about the formula that we need to buy? What about the formula that man and that woman need to buy for their kids? What about the water bills that I struggle to pay, or the late fees that he has to pay because he has to decide if he's going to pay water or electric this month? What about for the last decade, forget about during COVID, that we've struggled to pay our bills? Because I got to tell you, it's not easy. It's not easy. We shouldn't be living paycheck to paycheck. As cops and firefighters, we shouldn't be. You guys live paycheck to paycheck?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, we shouldn't have to. So I don't think that going out and risking your lives for the city that you work in, we should have to live paycheck to paycheck. If you feel that way, then I guess we feel differently on that matter. So we talked about the citizens that can't afford $40 a year, and they come up to you guys and they say that. Well, where are they? Is there somebody here who can't afford $40 a year? Where are these people? I mean, we saw, I think, 1 or 2 people one meeting, and maybe they're out working, another job to pay for the things that they can't afford. But I took a shower and dusted off the dust from my second job to come here, and I'm not making money right now that I should be making in my second job to pay for the bills that I need to pay for my family, so that I can plead with you, because that's what we're doing at this point. We're pleading with the council to just pay us a fair wage so that we can live our lives and not have to worry about working second and third jobs to survive and pay for the things that our family needs. I talk about this negotiation. So we've kind of had some things passed across the table that would bring us to competitive again. It's not about being competitive for this year. It's not about being competitive for this month. It's about all these other agencies are coming out for their negotiations. Some of them are beginning their negotiations now. So we can't be brought up to competitive right now to be competitive for the next 2 months, and then for the 10 months after that not be able to recruit again because we're left in the dust. Let's bring us to a spot where we're not chasing the pack, where we're leading the pack. We don't have to be number 1, but let's keep us at the front so we're leading the pack, so we're not asking for these giant raises to keep catching up, to having to play catch up. Let's keep us at the front so there's small increases every year, like me and you spoke about, Mayor. So week after week, you hear from citizens, business owners, families of firefighters and employees of the city asking you to do what, not necessarily to raise taxes, but to do what you need to do to pay our citizens accordingly. When is enough is enough? When have you heard enough from enough citizens, from enough business owners, from enough employees, from enough family members, from enough kids? When have we heard from enough people? When are you going to have heard enough that you say, okay, let's do what needs to be done? It sounds like we're moving in that direction. I was astounded standing back there listening to the 3 of your comments. It was great. I mean, I had a smile on my face. I don't know if you looked at me, but just a little bit longer. I'm beaming from ear to ear. So the last thing I'll ask, get out of your hair is, and there's been nothing official about this, but I've kind of heard like the rumor mill going about pitting us against each other, about saying, well, there's only enough money to pay fire, or we can't pay police because we got to pay fire, or can't pay police enough because we got to pay fire enough. Not saying that you're doing that. I beg you not to do that. I see that that's a possibility. We're one family. I have never seen a police and fire department agency in New York City. Police and fire hate each other. Here, we love each other. Don't pit us against each other and tell us that we can only pay one of you or we can't pay you both fairly. Bring us both to where we need to be so that we can provide the citizens of Port Orange the quality of service that they deserve.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Did I get everybody that wants to speak? Last call on anybody that wants to speak. That brings us back to council on item 4, is discussion item. Any other comments, council?
Yeah, I'll respond. Just a couple comments. Didn't realize the diapered and wipe comments was going to be such a hit. Appreciate the note on some of those. It's not just $30. We're multiple taxing agencies that tax us. You got the Water Management District, you've got the Hospital Authority, you got the School Board. They add up. 30 over here, 15 here, 20 here, 50 over here. It adds up. I can only have a say in this portion. That's it. And I genuinely appreciated everyone that came up. And even the last one, Mike, he and I have gone back and forth a number of times. Listen, I'll talk to anybody and I'll always listen to you. My personal cell phone number is 386-589-1320. That's not my city number, that's my personal number. Anybody can call me anytime and I'll be happy to dialogue with you. I genuinely will, and I'll enjoy it. And I listened very intently to every word that was said. It didn't go in one ear, out the other. It doesn't change my position. As I have my position, I have my value, and I have my conviction, what I'm sticking to. But I don't want you to, I want to clearly communicate that I understand the hardship. I know what it's like to deal with daycare. Wasn't a pleasant conversation getting a call from the fourth daycare and said, we're not equipped to handle your son. And my wife had to leave work. It's not easy. And I left a career that I really enjoyed to go and make more money somewhere else. And when COVID hit, I don't make nearly what I made at my previous job. And I'm one of many other stories. So I feel your hardship, I do. But I feel a lot of others too. And I'm just here to give them a voice as well. I had a lot more. You got my cell, call me, and I'll be happy to dialogue. But my position doesn't change my level of appreciation and support for each and every one of you.
Any other comments or questions? Go ahead.
I think most of us would give our spouse or people we love or our children everything we could, the sun, the moon, the stars. And I think myself and the rest of council would do the same for all of our first responders. But the reality is we can't do it. We shouldn't do it, at least for me. I made a pledge to think about all the residents. And for those people who say, you know, I have difficulty making ends meet, I understand that. I've been there. But people out of jobs haven't been getting a paycheck for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months. Those are people I hear from. 2 people that spoke here had jobs, but they work in a business where they see people who are going to go belly up on their mortgages. So yes, $30, $40 for Port Orange is a lot for people. And it's not, as Councilman Trayman pointed out, just 30 or 40. It's all the other taxing authorities. So while I would like to give you the sun, the moon, the stars, in good conscience, I can't. I think a 6% increase in taxes, which is keeping the same millage rate as last year, it still is an increase, is all I can give and honestly and prudently support this year. As to Councilman Stiltner's comment that he's concerned about using, say, what we know will be a vacancy rate to fund and get us to that rate of 4.5254, he's concerned about doing that. Is that kicking the can down the road? I too have concerns. But the reality is, we're faced with this today. Next year, it may be more difficult. There may be more difficult decisions. And some of the comments that I've heard from council, I'm a little bit concerned about when you say, you don't want to cut services. That may be where we are next year. And I think moving too far ahead this year sets us up for more dire consequences next year, because the $20, $30 this year goes on in perpetuity and gets compounded every single year in the taxes. I can't support the millage rate that's been proposed. I won't support it. I must support all the residents of Port Orange. And it's not due to any lack of regard or anything negative about our first responders. You're critical. You're necessary. I believe you are worth more. I just can't give you that.
Any other comments, council? There being none, item 5. Resolution 20-35 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, adopting the tentative ad valorem property tax millage rate to be levied for fiscal year 2021, October 1st, 2020 to September 30th of 21, and providing for an effective date.
Motion to approve resolution number 20-35.
Second.
You need to read from the script your motion all the way to the bottom.
Okay, I got you. Move to approve resolution number 20-35, adopting the City of Port Orange fiscal year 2021 tentative millage rate of 4.6622 mils per 1,000 evaluation.
Second.
We have a motion, proper second. The resolution is open. Any comments on this item? There being none, anyone in the audience care to speak to this item? There being none, call the roll.
Councilmember Ford.
No.
Councilmember Tremont.
No.
Councilmember Stiltner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bastian.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes. The adopted tentative millage rate of 4.6622 mils per 1,000 evaluation is a 9.9% increase in ad valorem tax revenue above the rollback rate. Item 6 is resolution number 20-36, which is a resolution of the City Council of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, adopting the tentative operating budget for fiscal year October 1, 2020 through September 30th of 2021 for the City of Port Orange, setting forth anticipated sources of revenue in the estimated amount of $109,485,181, setting forth expenditures in an equal amount, providing for an appropriation and procedures, and providing for an effective date.
Motion to approve resolution number 20-36, adopting the City of Port Orange fiscal year 2021 tentative operating budget.
Second.
We have a motion, proper second. The item's open on the floor for discussion. Comments, council? There being none, anybody here care to speak to this item? There being none, final comments? Call the roll.
Councilmember Ford.
No.
Councilmember Tremont.
No.
Councilmember Stiltner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bastian.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes. Item 7 is resolution, boy, I really wish I wore my glasses today. Resolution 20-37 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, adopting the tentative capital budget for fiscal year 2021, which is October 1st, 2020 through September 30th of 2021 for the City of Port Orange, setting forth anticipated sources of revenue in an amount of $11,793,116, setting forth expenditures in an equivalent amount, providing for an appropriation expenditures, and providing for an effective date.
Motion to approve resolution number 20-37, adopting the City of Port Orange fiscal year 2021 tentative capital budget.
Second.
We have a motion, proper second. The item's open on the floor for discussion. Council comments or questions? There being none, anyone here care to speak to the item? Back to council. Final comments? Good to go. Call the roll.
Councilmember Ford.
Yes.
Councilmember Tremont.
Yes.
Councilmember Stiltner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bastian.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 5-0. Item 8 is resolution number 20-38, which is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, adopting the tentative ad valorem property tax millage rate to be levied for the Town Center Tax Increment District for fiscal year 2021, which is October 1st, 2020 to September 30th of 2021, and providing for an effective date.
Motion to approve resolution number 20-38, adopting the Community Redevelopment Agency for Port Orange Town Center fiscal year 2021 tentative millage rate of 4.6622 mils per $1,000 evaluation.
Second.
We have a motion, proper second. The item's open on the floor for discussion. Council comments or questions? There being none, would anyone here care to speak to the item? There being none, council, final comments? Call the roll.
Councilmember Ford.
No.
Councilmember Tremont.
No.
Councilmember Stiltner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bastian.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 3-2. Item 9 is resolution number 20-39, which is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, adopting the tentative Town Center Tax Increment District operating budget for fiscal year 2021, which is October 1st, 2020 through September 30th of 2021, setting forth anticipated sources of revenues in the estimated amount of $472,758, setting forth expenditures in equivalent amount, providing for an appropriation and procedures, and providing for an effective date.
Motion to approve resolution number 20-39, adopting the Community Redevelopment Agency for Port Orange Town Center fiscal year 2021 tentative operating budget.
Second.
Council comments or questions on this? Would anyone here care to speak to the item? There being none, final comments? Call the roll.
Councilmember Ford.
No.
Councilmember Tremont.
No.
Councilmember Stiltner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bastian.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 3-2. Item 10 is resolution number 20-40, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, adopting the tentative property ad valorem tax millage rate to be levied for the Eastport Tax Increment District for fiscal year 2021, which is October 1st, 2020 to September 30th of 2021, and providing for an effective date.
Motion to approve resolution number 20-40, adopting the Community Redevelopment Agency for Eastport Business Center fiscal year 2021 tentative millage rate of 4.6622 mils per thousand of valuation.
Second.
We have a motion and proper second. The item's open on the floor for discussion. Council comments or questions? There being none, would anyone here care to speak to the item? There being none, council, final comments? Call the roll.
Councilmember Ford.
No.
Councilmember Tremont.
No.
Councilmember Stiltner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bastian.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 3-2. That brings us to item 11, resolution number 20-41, which is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, adopting the tentative Eastport Tax Increment District operating budget for fiscal year October 1st, 2020 through September 30th of 2021, setting forth anticipated sources of revenue in the estimated amount of $248,113, setting forth expenditures in an equivalent amount, providing for an appropriation and procedures, and providing for an effective date.
Motion to approve resolution number 20-41, adopting the Community Redevelopment Agency for Eastport Business Center fiscal year 2021 tentative operating budget.
Second.
The item is properly motioned, second up and on the floor for discussion. Council comments or questions? Would anyone here care to speak to the item? There being none, back to the council. Final comments, questions? Call the roll.
Councilmember Ford.
No.
Councilmember Tremont.
No.
Councilmember Stiltner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bastian.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 3-2. I would request a motion to direct the city clerk to publish an advertisement providing notice of the City of Port Orange City Council's intent to adopt the final millage rate and final operating and capital budget for the City of Port Orange, the Community Redevelopment Agency for the Port Orange Town Center, and the Community Redevelopment Agency for Eastport Business Center, complying with the budget summary requirements of law.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second requesting such said advertisement. Comments, questions, council? There being none, call the roll.
Councilmember Ford.
Yes.
Councilmember Stiltner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor, Councilmember Tremont.
Yes.
Councilmember Stiltner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bastian.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes.
Got ahead of myself.
You were on vacation last week, and it's showing.
Still there, I think.
In addition to the foregoing general operating budget millage levy, there is a voter-approved millage levy of .2519 mils to fund the debt service for the 2016 general obligation refunding bond issued for public safety capital facilities. A public hearing will be held on September 23rd, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. in the City Council chambers here at City Hall, 1000 City Center Circle, Port Orange, Florida, to discuss and adopt a final millage rate, the final operating and final capital budget for fiscal year 2021 for the City of Port Orange, the Community Redevelopment Agency for Port Orange, and the Town Center and Community Redevelopment Agency for the Eastport Business Center. Such advertisements said to be posted, and with that, that concludes our business for the evening. Appreciate everybody's phone calls, talking to us all in advance, and we will see you all and do this again in 2 weeks.